Yazawa-san, these pieces I have as a playlist on Spotify, so I will share the link with Okamoto-san and share the list with you.
これらの曲、全部 Spotify のプレイリストを作ってあるので、岡本さんに共有して、それで皆さんに押してもらうことにします。
Part two, I want to talk about. Oh, let's do this first of all. Here are three composers from part one. Okay, so this is another quiz. Maybe I just reveal the answer to that. Who is this composer on the left? That's John Ireland, composer of the Downland Suite. Do you know the middle composer? Looks like Edward Elgar, but it's not Edward Elgar. This composer has his anniversary this year. I think 100 years since his birth. Obviously, he's dead. But he has an anniversary this year, and it is Arthur Bliss, composer of Kenilworth. And how about that composer? William Wharton. But close, very close. That is Ralph Vaughan Williams. Ralph Vaughan Williams, that's what they look like. Okay, so I want to talk now about how new music comes about. How does new music get created?
今からどのようにして新しい曲が出来上がるんでしょうかの話をします。
So from about, what should we say, 1900, so 125 years ago, there have been two very important competitions in the UK.
100年ほどの歴史なんですけど、とても大きなコンペティションが2つほどあります。
There is the British Open competition, and there is the Nationals. Two competitions, okay? And so for many years, these competitions, they're commercial events, so they make money, and with the money, they use some of the money to commission composers to compose a new piece for next year's competition.
このコンペティションなんですけど、やはりお金が発生するんで、そのお金を使って新しい作品を移植します。
So this has happened for many years, and especially at the beginning of the 20th century, it was the Nationals that was commissioning many composers.
で、やはり最初の方はどうしてもナショナルの方が新しい曲をたくさん生んでたコンペティションなんです。
So from 1913, the Nationals was commissioning composers including Gustav Holst, a Moorside Suite, and Edward Elgar. These are both A-list composers.
この超ビッグネームのホルストやエルガーさんに移植してました。
So Gustav Holst is a Moorside Suite, Edward Elgar a 7 Suite from the early 20th century. So these days, this happening is much less frequent, but why?
近年はこれはちょっと減ってるそうです。新しい曲を移植するのはなぜでしょうか。
So now there is another competition, very big competition, which always commissions new music every year, but it's not the British Open and it's not the Nationals.
オープンとナショナルではないコンペティションが必ず毎年新しい曲を移植しているそうです。
And it is the European Championships.
それがヨーロッパのコンペティション。
So this is the European Championships. I know some of you have visited the European Championships, but the European Championships takes place in a different country every year.
ユーロピアンの特徴としては、毎年違う国で開催される。
The first European Championships took place in 1978.
最初は1978年。
And it has happened every year since in the UK or Norway or Belgium or the Netherlands or Switzerland, etc.
それが毎年違う国で開催されます。
Now, recently, the commissioning policy from the European is to commission a new piece of music from a composer from that country.
で、そのポリシーとして、その年開催される国のコンポーザーから曲を課題曲を移植するっていう形で。
So, for example, this year the European Championships were in where were they? In Norway.
今年はノルウェーで開催された。
And so we played a new piece of music by a young Norwegian composer.
なので、その今年の課題曲はノルウェーのその新しい作曲家の新しい曲を演奏します。
That piece was called Transitions in Energy, new piece. The composer was Frederick Schelderup, Norwegian guy. So every year, recently, the European competition has commissioned composers from the home country. For example, Spirity by Thomas Doss, 2010, that was in Austria.
トーマス・ドスさんはオーストリア。
No, not Australia, Austria.
オーストリアの。
Yeah, Austria. Next to Germany.
Yeah.
And another good example was Fraternity by Thierry Delariel, 2016. That was in France.
次の曲はフランスの作曲家。
And I wrote there, but limited success. That's my opinion.
で、リミテッドサクセスって書いてあるんですが、あんまり成功はしてない。
And so what exactly do I mean by that?
どういう意味でしょうか。
I think a good criteria for success for new brass band music is, after the first occasion, when it's used for the competition, does it get played again? That's my criteria for success.
そのフィリップさんにとって成功っていうのは、その新しい曲ができました。で、その後ちゃんと演奏されるかどうかが大事だそうです。
So, for example, the previous list with 10 pieces, old pieces, all of those pieces get multiple performances. Every year, those pieces are played by many bands, including Corey band.
例えば先ほど紹介した10曲なんですけど、もう長年毎年何回も演奏される曲。
But I have prepared and conducted many European pieces which were used at the European competition and then never used again.
で、フィリップさん自身たくさんこのユーロピアンのための曲をたくさん用意してきたんですけど、やはりその年の開催の後演奏されることはほとんどない。
And that's what I mean by limited success. Okay, so the competition is creating new music, but is it long lasting? I don't know.
なので、この新しい曲は作られてはいるんですけど、やはりそのレペトワーに浸透してない。
Maybe the two pieces I mentioned here, Spirity and Fraternity, these are two exceptions. So many people played this music.
ここに書いてある2曲は映画といいますか、やはり結構人気な曲。
Now, let's go back to the British approach. Remember, in Mukashi Mukashi, British competitions were commissioning composers all the time. So let's look at what's happening in the UK right now.
今、イギリスで何が起こっているかを見てみましょう。
So again, this is my opinion. This is not fact, this is my opinion. But in recent years, many British Open pieces and Nationals pieces have been, in my opinion, unmemorable. We can't remember them.
あくまで個人の感想なんですけど、最近のコンペティションの曲ってあんまり記憶に残る曲がない。
For example, Heroes by Bruce Broughton, Canadian composer. It was the national finals piece in 2021, Heroes. That was it, but I can't remember it.
ヒーローズっていう曲が、2010年の課題曲だったそうなんですけど、全く思い出せない。
And no more performances.
で、それから演奏されることもない。
And then the following year, Hyperlink by Peter Graham.
次の年のハイパーリンク。
The same situation. We played it. It had 20 performances on that day, and since that day, 0 performances.
その年20回ぐらい演奏されて、その後も演奏されることはない。
And so, after a few years of unmemorable music, the trend, the fashion in the UK now, is to choose pieces from 40 years ago and recycle the music.
これを脱出しようっていう感じで、最近は昔の曲をまた課題曲にする動きが大事です。
Yeah, for example, last year at the Nationals, we played a piece called Harrison's Dream by Peter Graham. It's 25 years old.
去年は25年前の曲を演奏。
The previous year at the Nationals, we played Of Men and Mountains by Edward Gregson. It's 40 years old.
その前の年の課題曲もやはり40年前の曲。
So, my opinion about this is the music is good, this is good music, but to develop brass band repertoire, this is not so good.
曲はいいんですけど、やはり継続的ではないというか、どうしても新しい曲は欲しい。
So now to the future. I think, obviously, I talk to a lot of people in a lot of different bands in the UK, and I think there is a feeling amongst the bands that we want more imagination, more vision when we commission new music.
フィリップさん、たくさんの方とお話しするんですけど、やはりもっと、新しい曲が欲しい。ただ新しいだけじゃなくて、先を見てるような曲がたくさん欲しい。
I guess, as I just said to you, all of the players in UK bands are amateur musicians, so they play in the band as their hobby, and they want to enjoy their hobby and be really engaged with their hobby.
ブラスバンドにで吹いてる人で皆さんアマチュアなんで、やはり楽しみたい、演奏を楽しみたい。
And therefore, they don't necessarily want to be playing pieces from 40, 20, 30, 40 years ago. They want new ideas.
なので、やはり古い曲を何回も演奏するのっていうのは、ちょっとあんまりよろしくない。
And so, I can bring you some very exciting news to Japan. This is not exclusive to Japan because we already announced this in the UK, but it was only about 6 weeks ago we announced this, so it's quite recent news.
で、そういう皆さんのために最新のニュースをお届けします。
So, in the UK, 5 bands have come together to create a new project where we, the bands ourselves, will commission new music from exciting composers.
なので、イギリスの5つのバンドがちょっと連携して新しい曲をたくさん移植しようという。
I'm interested. Has anyone heard of this initiative? Did you read the news story on 4barsrest.com?
このことを聞いたよって人いますか？
No. So this is a real Japanese exclusive then.
皆さんが初めて耳にする。
So there are 5 bands in this project. Of course, Corey Band is one band. Corey Band, Flowers Band, national champions. Foden's Band, Tredegar Band, Cooperation Band from Scotland. All 5 of these bands are in the collective, and we will commission not just one piece, but a series of new pieces from already established composers.
ここにある5つのバンドが協力して1曲だけじゃなくてたくさんの曲を名の売れてる作曲家からたくさん曲を移植するそうです。
It's very exciting. So Corey is from Wales, Flowers is from England, Foden's is from England, Tredegar is from Wales, Cooperation Band from Scotland. So right across Great Britain, across the whole country, this is a real national project to find some great new music.
これはイギリス全国を渡るとても大きなプロジェクトです。
So, a new name for the list. We already commissioned the first composer, and he already finished his piece.
もうすでに1曲出来上がっているそうです。
I introduce to you Richard Blackford. So Richard Blackford. Now, I met Richard for the first time about 9 months ago.
フィリップさん、9ヶ月前ぐらいにブラックファードさんと会ったそうです。
So Richard Blackford was recommended to me as an excellent composer. He's already over 70 years old.
まあ70超えてるそうです。
This is an older photograph.
ちょっと前の写真は。
Yeah. But anyway, so he has been a professional composer for his whole life. Now he's 70. He composed music for film, for TV, for orchestra, for choirs. If you search for him on the internet, you find many, many pieces.
ブラックフォードさんもうずっと作曲している方で、テレビや映画などオーケストラでたくさん曲を書いているそうです。
But, しかし, he has never composed for brass band before. Never.
今回初めてブラスバンドのために曲を作った。
In fact, I met him and I took him to a brass band concert, and I think actually he'd never even heard a brass band before.
で、会った時にちょっとブラスバンドのコンサートに連れて行ったんですけど、その時初めてブラスバンドを聴いた。
Yeah, and so over the last few months, I and others from the 5 bands have been talking to Richard and introducing to him the world of brass bands.
なので、数ヶ月かけてこの方にブラスバンドの素晴らしさをいろいろ話してる。
Yeah, and he became very, very enthusiastic, just like Vaughan Williams, the story I told before.
先ほどボーン・ウィリアムズの話しましたけど、そのようにとても前向きに作品に取り掛かってくれて。
So, of course, commissioning a new composer does cost money. So we asked him to compose the piece. He said yes, and then we started to think about how do we get the money.
で、先に曲書いてくださいって聞いたんですけど、その後お金をどうしようかって話になって。
So we talked to some people in funding. You know, we were asking for money, and the people said, "Okay, we'll have a look at this, but please just tell the composer to wait, because if we can't find the money, then we can't commission the music."
いろいろお金を出してくれる団体とかがいるんですけど、ちょっと待ってください。
However, the next day or the next week, Richard Blackford emailed to me and said, "Here is the finished."
ちょっと待ちきれなくて、もう次の日に曲書いちゃったと。
He's really enthusiastic. Right, so therefore, I can tell you about the new piece. I have all the information. It's finished.
なんで、このイニシアティブ始まったばっかりなんですけど、もうすでに曲ができてるんで、皆さんにお伝えします。
The name of the piece is Orbital. Yeah, かっこいいね. Orbital, the brass band by Richard Blackford. Now, Orbital is a book, famous book by Samantha Harvey. It's a short book, and it won the Booker Prize in 2024. So it's quite a recent book. Yeah.
この曲なんですけど、本が題材になっていて、この本は去年大きな賞を受賞した。
The book is about, follows the story of 5 astronauts who are in the International Space Station above the Earth, orbiting the Earth.
で、この本は、ISS、国際宇宙ステーションにいる5人の宇宙飛行士の話。
And it's about what they each think when they look at the Earth from above. Yeah.
で、彼らがその宇宙から地球を見たときにどういうふうな何を感じるかみたいなのを題材にしたものです。
So, like I said, the book has won many awards, including the Booker Prize. And can you, I don't know if you can see this text or translate it, but the New York Times says, ravishingly beautiful. どうぞ。
皆さん、ニューヨークタイムズって知ってますか？アメリカの新聞社なんですけど。
It's the review. It's a very good review. And this one says, the author makes an ecstatic voyage, very, very happy, and looks back to Earth with a lover's eye. Very romantic. Yeah, very romantic. So some of the things we were saying to Richard Blackford, the composer, usually brass band pieces must be uplifting and full of joy. Maybe have a nice melody, maybe finish on a happy note. Those were the kind of conversations we were having. This was his idea.
ブラスバンドの曲ってやはりとても喜ばしい音楽でないといけない。そういうふうに話してたら、ブラックファードさんがじゃあこういう題材がいいんじゃないかって。
So, in 2026, next year, there will be 5 premiere performances of this piece, one from each band, at various places across the UK.
なんで来年 この曲をその先ほどの5バンドが全員演奏します。
And we hope after those 5 performances there will be many more. That's the criteria for success of this project.
で、この5回演奏は決まってるんですけど、やはりその後もたくさん演奏してほしい。それが成功の条件です。
That's our hope for this project. Maybe even the British Open or the Nationals might select this piece.
これがコンペティションに使われるといいですね。
And then, already we are talking to the next composer, and we have ideas for more composers. We think it's important to have a female composer to bring new voices to the brass band.
もうすでに次の作曲者とかを探してるんですけど、やはり女性の方とかも取り入れるのも大事です。
Yeah. So, can you see the audio icon just there?
皆さん、オーディオの印見えますか？
Would you like to hear some of this new piece?
Yeah.
Of course, it's just a computer performance because it's so new. No band has played this yet. It's just a computer. But I recorded exclusively for you just the last part of the piece.
これ世に出回ってないそのコンピューターのミディの録音っていうかモックアップ。
Okay, so this is the grand finale to the lecture. I'll play you this piece of music. It's about 2 or 3 minutes, and then I can do questions after that.
でこれで2、3分なんですけど、これでレクチャー終了しますので、その後質問のある方はどうぞ。
So here we go, Orbital for Brass Band by Richard Blackford. I can just imagine the full top-class brass band playing a performance of this. So exciting, and looking forward to the development of this new repertoire in 2026 and beyond.
とても楽しみにしてる新しい曲を作るのはとても楽しいんで、 もうこれからのこのプログラムがどんどん大きくなるのをとても楽しみにしてます。
So, does anyone have any questions about either this project or anything else that I talked about? Of course.
もし言える範囲でこのプロジェクトについて現在依頼しているとか他にアイデアのある作曲家ってどんな方がいらっしゃるか言える範囲でよければ知りたいです。
That's top secret. But actually, we have a few people, because in the brass band world, I think one of the problems with the brass band world is it's very insular. So it exists, but it's kind of self-contained. It's very rare that people look outside of the world. I think that's a problem.
ブラスバンドの世界ってどうしても閉じられている空間といいますか、あまり外と交流がない感じのコミュニティなので、それはあんまり良くないなとは感じている。
However, there are a few people that we know. When I say we, I mean the 5 bands. There are a few people we know who are kind of on the edge, and they have one foot in brass bands and one foot in another musical world. And so we are talking to those people and getting their recommendations for great composers from outside the brass band world.
いくら閉じられている空間といっても、やはりブラスバンドに片足入れて、他の世界に片足入れている人たくさんいるんで、その方にちょっとどういう作曲家がいいかっていろいろ聞いてるそう。
So to answer your question, particularly, we're looking at composers that are already great, but, like Richard, have never composed for brass band before.
そのコンセプトとしては、もうすでにたくさん曲を書いている有名な作曲者なんですけど、まだ、ブラスバンドのために曲を書いてない人を重点的に言っている。
Someone like, I talked about Gilbert Vinter earlier. Remember the guy who played the bassoon? Someone like him.
先ほど話したビンターさんみたいな、もともとは歌手だとか、オケの曲を書いてた人がブラスバンドの曲を書くみたいなことを目指している。
ありがとうございます。
Any more questions? Yeah.
作曲家にかなり重点を置いているように見えるんですけれども、例えばプレイヤーの方でブラスバンド以外のところからプレイヤーをお願いして、コンチェルトを見てもらうと、そういう方法とかは私有効なんじゃないかなと思うんですけど、何かどうですか？
If you bring in like famous players to play concertos and stuff, that might be a good addition to something like this.
Yeah. Well, we're really looking for non-solo pieces, but yes, you're right. There are other ways to do that. For example, bring in a famous saxophone player or a famous violin player or something like that. Yeah, good idea. Thank you. Yeah.
ちょっとプロジェクトとは別で作曲の質問なんですけど、ハーパーさんが曲を作ってるところでブラスバンドのできない表現とか、これを生かしてますよとか、そういった特徴とか込めてる思いみたいなのがあったらぜひ教えていただければ嬉しい。
So just unrelated to the project, wants to know kind of your thoughts on composing for brass band. Like, what do you find so special about it?
Okay. The thing I love about the brass band and the thing that I'm passionate about is the sound, the blended sound of all the instruments. And I just think it it can be so soft one moment and then so kind of dynamic and exciting the next moment. So when I compose, I always think about the overall sound.
ブラスバンドの一番好きなところはこの楽器の混ざった音がとても好きなんで、曲を書いてるところではその小さい音でも大きい音でもそれを意識して作曲してる。
So that's important for me as a composer, just thinking about sounds, different sounds. But as I mentioned to you earlier, the brass band world is very conservative. So I know as a composer, I must keep my ideas kind of reasonable, not too kind of far out. That's also important.
ブラスバンドのコミュニティって結構保守的なところがあって、あんまり新しいちょっと現代的すぎるアイディアはあんまり受け入れがたいので、ちょっと皆さんが分かりやすいような表現に重点を置いている。
Yeah. So for example, brass band audiences and also brass band players love to have a strong melody. So I am a melodic composer. So I always try to create a strong melody.
メロディーがやっぱり吹いてるのも聴いてるのもとても重要なんで、そこに重点を置いて作曲してます。
But I also like composing music with a story.
物語性の曲を作るのが好きです。
Not like Life Divine or not that kind of Samaranai story. But you know, an interesting piece of history, for example. So I often use that idea as well.
作曲のアイデアとしては、その歴史的な事件とかを大事にすることもあります。
In my experience, the more you can give your audience that they can already understand, the better.
やはり分かりやすいのがいいんじゃないか。
じゃあ最後に今回やる
Yeah.
この曲の一番気に入ってるところを教えていただいて最後に。
What's your favorite spot in the album?
What's my favourite part? I love bar 37. That was a joke. I don't know. I mean, that's a good example. You know, I try to make a good melody with some interesting harmony. And of course, that's a short piece, like a Henry Round kind of piece. This is a not really serious piece, but yeah, I like it all. Okay, so we have kind of run out of time, but are there any final questions?
最後に質問ある方。
私アマチュアオーケストラでもプレイしてて、でそれでオーケストラって例えばモーツァルト、ベートーベン、ブラームス、マーラーとか昔の曲を何回も繰り返し演奏するじゃないですか。なのにブラスバンドの世界は常に新しい曲を求めてるっていうのがすごい違うなっていうふうに感じるんですけど、そのブラスバンドが新しい曲を追い求めていかなきゃいけないっていう理由について何かお考えはありますか？
Yeah, I got that. Yeah. Yes, I mean that's true. But the thing is, when you go to an orchestral concert, really you don't really look at the name of the orchestra. You look at the name of the composers. So you say, I'm going to watch Beethoven. Whereas with the brass band, you always look at the name of the brass band and you don't really care what they play. But that would be an alternate way of marketing brass bands.
オーケストラだと見に行くときにどこの団体っていうよりは何の曲っていうのがやはり大きな見に行く理由の一つなんですけど、ブラスバンドだと 曲を見に行くんじゃなくて、その団体を見に行くっていうのが強いんで、やはりそういう意味では新しい曲をたくさん演奏しないといけない。ただ、おっしゃる通り、有名な曲っていう感じで売り出すのも一つ手ではある。
I mean, we are always looking to expand our audience, develop our audience. And in the orchestral world, maybe you have Mahler Symphony or Tchaikovsky, and you look and you think, oh, I love that music, I will go to that concert. And then the concert is just that one piece, there's no other music because it's a big piece. But in the brass band, the longest piece is like 20 minutes. So we have to have lots and lots of other music as well. But sometimes giving the name of those A-list composers, Elgar, Vaughan Williams, Holst, is enough to bring orchestral audience towards brass band.
はい、オーケストラの世界って一曲一曲がとても長いんで、例えばマーラーだけで一つのコンサートができたりしますけど、ブラスバンドだとどうしてもそれが難しい、一曲一曲が短いんで、それが難しいんですけど、例えばボーム・ウィリアムズだとか、エルガーだとか、ホルストの名前を送って、ブラスバンド以外のお客さんを招き入れることもできる。
Yeah, that's true. But one thing we always try to do at Corey Band is publish our programs before the concert. But not many bands do that, but we think it's important for people to know the music in the concert as well as just the name of the band.
コーリーバンドでは他のバンドではあまりされてないんですけど、コンサートの前にプログラムをちょっと見せて、こういう曲やりますよっていうのを。
And for marketing, we think when we publish the program, sometimes people will look at the program, similar to Mahler and Tchaikovsky, even though it's a smaller piece, they'll go, Anno 1920, I love that piece. I will buy a ticket for the concert.
それで集客自体も効果があるんじゃないかなっていうお考えです。
Okay. Right, that's it. We finished. Thank you very much. You were very interesting. And thank you very much to your and I will see you in rehearsal at 1 p.m. Let's go.
岡本に代わり、ご案内させていただきます。まずお二人もう一回、